As the old saying goes, if we want to understand today, we have to search yesterday, and if we are to take from its altar the fire, not the ashes, we have to get closer to some glaring examples from the uncorrupted youth of mankind. Recorded in old books, tucked in deep shelves of grand libraries, such samples have a special appeal to the modern mind, for their reason is at once revealing and mysterious. We are in search of such hidden treasures. Biblioteca Apostolica Vaticana is one of the world's most prestigious cultural centers, for each book in its collection is selected with the sole purpose to lead the reader to the valuable and the noble. Among these tutors in the valuable and the noble is one Bulgarian manuscript, the Chronicle of Manasseh, created in 1345 in the capital Trnovo of the Kingdom of Bulgaria. The World Chronicle of Constantine Manasseh, a poet and historian at the 12th century Byzantine court of Manuel Comnenus, delivers the spirit of its time with effective style. Manasseh is brought to tears by the world's most terrible tormentor, the gold, and by the beasts destroying icons. But the magnificently dressed earth, together with the wonderful cherubs, St. Sophia Church, strengthened his belief in the free spirit. The inspired epic had become the bestseller of its time, not simply because it was, as declared by its author, a true story about true events, but also because, arguably, it was equipped with a highly evocative visual transcript. But we wouldn't have known how this supposed visual model looked like had it not been for the ambition of the 14th century Bulgarian Tsar Ivan Alexander, who ordered this manuscript to be specially created for his exquisite royal library soon after his ascension to the throne in 1331. Today, among the 120 preserved copies of the Manasseh's Chronicle, one only is illustrated, and it is the Bulgarian manuscript. This aspect makes it arguably the most comprehensive illuminated source from the Byzantine and Balkan Chronicles group. With its 69 frieze miniatures combining over 100 scenes, among them 13 editions from the Bulgarian history, the Bulgarian manuscript is a recreation of the world history of Constantine Manasseh in a novel way. The universal concept of this ambitious compendium is announced from the start as it initiates the true story with the Genesis. In other words, the Chronicle had set up the task to capture in the meanders of history the true experience of the Creator with His creation, and respectively that of the creation with the Creator. Under the 14th century contrasting expediency of the two major driving forces, the introvert hesychast quest for the uncreated light and the extrovert obsession with imagery, the thus galvanized Bulgarian intellect made a crucial step of its own. It departed from the two existing stereotype Byzantine strategies. Instead, the Turnovo devotees of the imagery opted to make visually intelligible the nature of the fused sacred and secular ritus of inner and outer light as seen and felt there and then. As a result, the first contact point shifted the brush to the brighter side of the palette, consequently saturated the approach with detail of movement and gesture, and finally fitted contemporary protagonists next to historic heroes. The aesthetics of the Genesis presents these tendencies in a prominent way, with an early prototype of the Renaissance vision, a garden with lavish vegetation as a symbol of the initial existential harmony and peace. Significantly, the creator here is depicted not as the traditional Orthodox image of the Ancient of Days, neither as the Italian Renaissance magnum opus, but as an ordinary man excited by his activity of a worker in his own garden. A down-to-earth image presenting a direct experience of the creator with his creation. The other side of the coin, the experience of the creation with the creator, is prominently personified with the added Bulgarian royal cycle. Surprisingly, like a modern narrative, the dramatic end of the plot is presented at the head of the story. Based on a compiled iconography, it depicts the untimely death of the heir to the throne, Ivan Asen, upon an architectural design of Turnovo and attended by holy figures and members of the royal family. Central place here takes the depiction of the soul of the deceased in a grain mandorla ascended by angels and inscribed as the righteous soul in God's hands. Thus, a vector of the secular sacred fusion is identified ahead of the story, the righteousness. Furthermore, the artist has followed the destiny of the righteous soul until its last destination. In heaven and in the hands of Abraham, thus, according to the inscription, rejoicing in the middle of paradise, which was a paramount medieval desire. Though amazing, it is still popular archetypal imagery. But the next visual credit to the righteous soul is spectacular and calls for a special evaluation. This time, the deceased is back to earth, accompanied by an angel miraculously appearing on the right side of the Tsar, while on his left side are his two other sons. The virtual presence of the pure soul in this earthly dynastic scene at the end of the manuscript now accomplishes the ultimate value of the sacred secular ideal as a non-transient, all-encompassing link. Remarkably, Manasseh had actually fortified this ideal in a dazzling wording earlier in the 12th century, emphasizing that nothing is stronger than the innocent soul, neither the beast, nor the fire, nor the stormy waters. The added 14th century plot of the innocent soul thus comes as an actual reconfirmation of the 12th century belief and fulfills the chronicle's formative purpose. But this is not the whole truth about the Orthodox Quattrocento experience in cultivating an intelligible, sacred, secular cultural climate. The crowning manifestation of this concept is the visual presence of the Tsar. His appearance with the prophet David has an important function as a providential justification of Ivan Alexander's disputed right to reign. Remarkably, just on the previous folio, an inserted glorifying address to Ivan Alexander compares him in military power as Second Alexander the Great and in faith as Saint Constantine, further referring his genealogy to the principal Bulgarian royal house of Asenevs. But his full divine accreditation is accomplished manifestly in the opening portrait, where Ivan Alexander stands between Christ and the historian Manasseh. Transcending every tradition, this emblematic image brings together the three principal actors of history: the creator, author of the earthly scenario confirmed with the text, "I am the light of the world," the ruler who would be executing, accomplishing the divine scenario, and the historian who would be recording it, all arranged in the respective order of action. And as in sea, the wind unites different bodies of water, so in space the spirit blends real and surreal in one. Thus, this empowered team is coming confident on the stage of the World Theatre to make its mystic yet galvanizing power an immediate historic effect. Indeed, Tsar Ivan Alexander ruled for 40 years what is scholarly defined as the second golden era of the Bulgarian medieval history. As a whole, the royal cycle, updating history with actual living events, has advanced the secular sacred ideal to an operational degree and has transformed the 12th century story of the past into a functional cultural model happening there and then. Starting with the personal, this civilizing paradigm was to encompass the civic as well. And as the essence of civilization is the aesthetic transformation of environment, so was Ivan Alexander's most cherished ambition: to transform Turnovo into a second Constantinople, into a third Rome. It is plausible that this ambition drew upon this book's very special inspirational source, the Trojan legend, which is finalized with the creation of Rome, in its own turn seen as a recreation of Troy. Thus, Ivan Alexander, in line with the highest desirable urban standards, has attempted to join this prominent civic mark of history. Interestingly, the Chronicle of Manasseh describes extensively, involving providential science, legend and story, the foundation of Rome. It begins like that: the kingdom of the evening Hellenes. Let us now describe the strong and hard Roman power, where it started and how it conquered the whole world. It was named after Ital, the first ruler of the nocturnal countries, and started with the two babies thrown into the river and a mother wolf who found them and gave them to suck from her milk. The local elements that were introduced into Tsar Ivan Alexander's copy now gave a visibility to his most ambitious idea, to make of Turnovo a third Rome. Little he knew that Rome will one day become host of his book of inspiration, thus his dream reaching its model in a strange twist of fate. Turnovo in the 14th century had reached its zenith and demonstrated its civic power as a theater of cultural initiatives. By volume and value, the three representative monuments, the Manasseh Chronicle, the Gospels of Tsar Ivan Alexander, and the Tomich Psalter, each with its own seminal visual novelty, presenting in total about 550 frieze miniatures containing nearly 1,000 scenes inhabited with more than 2,000 protagonists, is a glaring fact of history. Turnovo's lost glory seems to be a haunting image still today. Turnovo artist and sculptor Stan Chuganev has dedicated his craft to the recreation of the Bulgarian Quattrocento art with a commitment to shatter the shadow of time. Tsarevets was the seat of the Bulgarian medieval political and ecclesiastic power, with the royal palaces and the patriarchal cathedral on the top of the hill. Turnovo reached its medieval zenith in the 14th century and demonstrated its power with a massive cultural expansion patronized by Tsar Ivan Alexander that included production of sacred and secular books of the highest standard. Masterminded by the Bulgarian spiritual leaders and executed by devout anonymous monks, this cultural renaissance indeed was infused with many local elements. The 14th century artists transformed the 12th century original into a work of art. It was probably here where Tsar Ivan Alexander admired his copy, illustrated with tens of color images in times of contemplation, solitude, and in search of wisdom. Just 50 years after the creation of this manuscript, Tsar Ivan Alexander's world and his ambition turned into ashes. Turnovo collapsed under the Ottoman invasion in 1393, and Tsarevets was destroyed to the ground, never to recover again. And it is difficult to speculate how many unknown cultural items had perished into the destruction. The manuscript was miraculously saved and embarked now on a new journey, the journey for survival. The manuscript was saved from the burning royal city, and its next recorded place is traced as Croatia. It became part of the collection of the Archbishop of Modrus, Nikola Katarski, and remained there probably for about a century. Later, after some meandering via different collectors' hands, the manuscript reached the collection of Cardinal Isidore of Kiev. After his death in 1463, the manuscript was transferred into the Vatican Library, and at the time of its formal inauguration in 1475, it was already part of its collection. The Bulgarian manuscript was first described by Joseph Asemani in mid-18th century and was included in Angelo Mai's catalogue in the following century, while at present it is prefaced by Michael Bobrovsky's 1820 introduction, covered with a special grey paper, and each miniature protected with a transparent soft folio, now sporting a digital twin. The Bulgarian manuscript has all the immediate care needed, with attention to the last detail of a world-class librarianship. Every item in this bibliophile sanctuary appears exclusive and unique. So is the Bulgarian Chronicle. Created in the solitude of pious monks, used as a historic guide by an ambitious ruler, encapsulating the cultural quintessence of the medieval Orthodox world, this manuscript is surely one of the grand historic compendiums the world has known, for the lessons it stores can teach bold dreams, both humanistic and artistic, a true guide through the meanders of history. The symbol at is first documented in this manuscript's monk's rendition of the formula Amen.